Can you hear me?
Want to try one more time, Gail, or?
Yours just talk loud enough so we can hear.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay,
I can.
do this.
It's like I can hear you in the background, but I can hear okay. Can you hear me? Andrew, sorry.
I've turned my microphone off, and my speakers off of my computer, so I'll just talk loud for when I do the roll call.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty quiet up here.
Otherwise, we get too much feedback.
Yep.
Understood. Good afternoon, Jeff.
Hi, Debbie.
How you doing?
Did it work? Am I on?
Yeah, it did. It worked great.
Okay, I'm muted now.
Okay. Do we have that button in real meetings? No. Just kidding.
Be nice, Debbie.
I'm just kidding. That was a bad joke. Okay.
Okay, so we're live on YouTube and on Zoom webinar. To be
Awesome.
prepared for a 5 o'clock meeting.
Great. Thank you, Jason. Hi, Tyler. Just checking to make sure that the audio works.
Yeah, just
Okay.
getting mine here.
Okay. Perfect.
Hey, Jeff. Hey, Andrew. Hi, Vic. Hey, Tyler. Hey, Tyler.
Okay. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, everybody.
And Vic, we're getting the crew here. There's a few more, obviously waiting for John. I think that's him. Hi, John. Let me know when you can hear us.
Okay, you hear me now?
Yeah, we're good, John.
Good.
Perfect. Looks like we have about one more minute before we start.
This is Laura Metzger. Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
So Carrie's on and Lindsay.
Yeah. Ashley.
Oh, there's Ashley. Hey, Ashley.
Hello.
Just watching the clock here, guys. Okay, it is 5 o'clock. Gail, can we have a call to order roll call for our work session?
Certainly. Board, Tyler,
Oh, did she hear us?
can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roll call. We've got Tyler,
Here.
Jeff,
Yes.
John,
Oh,
Here.
Deb,
here. Sorry.
and Andrew.
You went silent there, Gail.
Oh, Andrew?
Here.
Okay. We're all present.
Okay, do we need to go through quickly and just indicate who is on Zoom?
Oh, okay.
I can do a quick rundown here of the participants.
Go ahead, Deb.
Okay, so we have myself, Andrew Rayclips, Laura Metzger, Vic Vanderpool, Tyler Holk, Cindy Bassett, Cindy Clark, Lindsay Beecher, Ashley Soma, Stacy Edwards, sorry Stacy, I kind of froze there for a second, Jeff Roseman, Gail Hopkins, John Nelson, Amy Griffin, and Tim Pizzetti. Did I miss anybody? Okay. One second. First of all, can we have, entertain a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Second. Okay, so motion by Andrew and second by Tyler. All those in favor? Aye. Okay.
Aye.
Agenda is approved. Welcome to our update. Thank you very much for everybody being flexible with your schedule so that we can pull this together. And thank you very much, Jason, for allowing us to do this virtually. Due to some work commitments, I was pushing it right up to the wire, and this really made it very convenient. So I appreciate the extra work that went into this. This is a work session, so this is a discussion, and we're going to be talking about just some general updates, what we've learned since the beginning of school, and also talk about some metrics and maybe what we're looking for, what we have, what we can use to help us make decisions going forward. This is our first Zoom meeting, and so maybe just to facilitate this and to make sure that people all get a chance to speak, we'll kind of go in order. We'll have each building administrator first give an update. And as people have questions, if they can please use the raise hand button in the Zoom meeting. And if you don't have that, you can just physically raise your hand. I'll keep an eye on that, and Jason will help me as well. We'll definitely make sure that you have a chance to get your comments in. So with that, I will kick it off. Lindsay, do you want to start off with a district comment, or who do you want to go first?
Let's let the building administrators go, and then Carrie and I will maybe wrap up as far as once they're done.
Okay. Is there an order? Do you want, Vic, are you okay starting with the high school and just going on down? Okay.
All right. Well, 4 days down, and it's been an awesome 4 days. It's been so nice to see the kids. I don't think I've ever had a bigger bucket filler than seeing kids come out to the school the first day. So it was absolutely awesome. All the work and all the effort and how difficult things were and how challenging it was at times, it made it all worth it seeing the kids in the building the first 4 days. We're learning a lot. We're learning more every day. We're learning that there are little things that have to be worked out, and we're figuring out how to respond to those a little better. The mitigation has been very, very spot on and is working well. Our students have been absolutely outstanding with supporting social distancing, wearing their masks, and being very cooperative and understanding what we're trying to do, and that we're all rowing in the same direction to try to stay in school as long as possible. We can work together to make things happen. It's been awesome. I don't really have a lot to report besides the fact that it's gone really, really well. We're still trying to iron out some bugs with remote learning. That's a big beast that is ever changing, and the number of kids move in and out and things like that is a challenge to manage. I will say that this first Wednesday, today, because today was our first Wednesday, was absolutely vital to that success. This Wednesday was an outstanding day for our teachers. They had opportunities to really connect with our remote learners, to really get their feet underneath them with what it's going to look like for remote learners and things, because we want that experience to be as positive as it can be for our students, knowing that it is going to be different. But it was so vital for them to be able to have discussions and connect with families and to do that. So I thank the board for their support of doing that. I think if you asked our teachers how they were feeling, how they'd be feeling without that Wednesday, it'd be rough. And so your support of our teachers for those Wednesdays has been great. But I feel like things have gone really, really well. Cindy, is there anything you want to add?
I think Vic summed it up really well. Today was a fun day to walk through our hallways, and you would have heard or seen two things. You would have heard our teachers on Zooms or Google Meets talking with their remote learners, which was big for that connection, and you would have heard teachers working together on remote learning planning and preparation and what they needed to do to be ready for this or to problem solve where the kinks were at. So Wednesdays are great. Our teachers and our kids are just really appreciative of all they're doing to make this school year happen.
Awesome. Any questions from anybody on the board?
Quick question, guys, because everything's going great. Any pushback on the mask from the kids? I know there was some noise at first on trying that, making sure that all kids are going to be wearing masks. Any pushback or anything you're getting from a negative standpoint of wearing masks throughout the day?
No, I've had a few parents ask some questions and things, but then we've had a productive discussion back and forth, mainly through email. The kids have been great. It's like not really any real concerns. They want to know what their parameters are, and they want to be able to follow their parameters. And we've been very clear, and I think our parents have been super supportive, and the ones that have asked questions have been very, very good about it and just wanting clarification on a few things, which is fine. I have no problem with that. But it's been great. And I feel like they've done a good job at being responsible and understanding why it's in place.
Open campus team, is that going all okay from your standpoint?
Yeah, that's been a game changer at the high school level just due to the sheer number of kids. It's been an absolute game changer. So the grab and go station that we set up for kids has been going really well also. So they can grab a lunch and still leave. So that's worked really well, and we've ironed out the bugs in that a little bit. The few bugs that I talked about were just some logistical things you don't really know till people get there and see it. And so we've been able to manage that really well. It's helped with the congestion at different times due to the fact that our study hall numbers are much lower now, so we can spread kids out a little more, which provides more mitigation. And I think families feel a little better about being able to get out of the building for periods of time and knowing they can do that. And so we've also built in some mask breaks throughout the day for because we moved to the block. We've had our teachers stop during the day and then take kids outside, and we need to build up that stamina with masks a little bit because not everybody's been wearing masks regularly, which I think the kids have appreciated and the teachers, because it's a big adjustment to wearing it almost 8 hours a day. So I think it's gone really well. The open campus has made a big difference for sure.
I was, to play off of Andrew's, I was concerned and wondered a little bit about, it's just a constant flow in and out, or, I could imagine Penny just sitting there with her hand on the buzzer all day long, but it sounds like it's going well, and that's great.
Hey, Debbie, this is Jeff. Do we have anybody, Vic, keeping track of lunches?
Yeah, we still run a lunch count, so we have that going. I mean, the numbers are going to be significantly down just out of the sheer fact that we're not feeding a cafeteria full of kids all at once. So the numbers are going to be down. I mean, that is the downfall of this. Normally there would be 260 kids eating at once, and now it's much lower. But you got to understand, some of those kids took SAG lunches and things before, and the number will be down, though. That is the downfall of this. But we've had, 30 to 35 kids each shift take, grab, and go and leave, which is nice. They can, don't have to worry about making a lunch at home for themselves. They can still take that, and some have been going outside and sitting in. We bought some chairs, some outdoor chairs that we clean after lunches. They've been sitting outside to get some fresh air during the lunch hour, and some have been going home. And with the proximity to North Ames, the majority of our kids are really close to the school, but it is going to have an impact on our lunch count for sure.
I think if we could keep track, like maybe a 3 or 4 week average, we could cut down on some of our waste, because we would know about every day what we're going to have. And I guess that's kind of where I'm going at it. I just think that we really kind of threw a wrench into food service, and we really need to respect it with the fact that it can cost us a lot of money if we don't do it right. So we need to keep track of how many people in all the buildings that are eating. So we have a historical average. Every Monday for the last 4 weeks, you had 50 kids. So that's what you're going to have.
And one thing I should have mentioned, Jeff, is that normally they would know about how many kids were coming because they just have it. They know, based on a normal setting. But what we've asked our students to do is every day fill out this form, where they actually fill out the form, and then the students or the lunch service people know how many lunches to make. So we're not overshooting by 200 or not undershooting by 200. So the students fill out the form in the morning, and then our food service people can pull it up at about 10 o'clock, and they got a pretty good idea within 5 to 10 lunches of about how many kids are going to stay. And so far, it's worked really well. She said there was one day where, we were about 6 or 7 heavy, and there was another day where we were 1 or 2 light, but they quickly were able to make some things up quickly. And so, that's going to ebb and flow depending on what the weather's like with open campus. If it's a bad day, we might have more kids stay.
Right.
So, we do have a way to kind of let them know how many are coming, because we obviously don't want to overshoot by 200 lunches and have a lot of waste and a lot of expense there. So we are trying to put together a thoughtful process for that.
Yeah. Good work. That's good work by you guys. Thanks.
Vic, any comments about just absenteeism or rates? Tyler, I see you're next, I'm sorry.
No, and I think Mr. Beecher is going to get in that from a
Okay.
district standpoint here in a little bit, but no, I mean, I think everyone's excited to be back. I think things are going really well right now, and I don't have a lot. Tyler, did you have something?
Yeah, Tyler.
Yeah, I guess as we go through each building, so starting with Vic and Cindy, and then when we go around, I'd like the principals just to comment on the teacher feedback. Any anxiety or any, what's the general, for the high school, what's the feedback from the teachers?
I think you usually have this super positive buzz. It was just a different buzz the first day. There's, some apprehension, some nerves, and some anxiety, and everyone's has different comfort levels with returning to school. We all feel, that way. A big chunk of people have been quarantining pretty solid since March, and then a lot haven't. And so everyone's kind of in a different spot, but we've spent a lot more time trying to be supportive of our staff. Our first few days look nothing like what they normally would look like. We try to give them plenty of time to get their feet underneath them, and a little less meeting time and a little less PD time that we normally would have at the beginning of the year, just because we needed to build a comfort level for them to take off of. So I would say it's stressful. I mean, you can feel it. It's palpable in the air for the adults, but it's always going to be that way when you're doing something that's so extremely different from what you normally would set up the year. There's things that you would normally do at the start of the year that we just don't do. Having a large assembly at the beginning of the year, to bring everybody in, we just can't do those things. And so we've had to just try different ways to adapt to those things. But I think our staff, you could tell that they were excited to see kids. It's still new and different, and I think their comfort levels just vary, if that makes any sense.
Good. I love the pictures in the Ames Tribune on first day, so that was great.
Yeah, great job. Okay, if nobody else has any other questions, can we go on to Mike?
So I would echo a lot of what Vic said. Start of the year has been really good. It was a big relief after Thursday. We spent 3 or 4 months talking and planning and stressing about that first day of school and what would it look like and how would it go, and to get to the end of Thursday and have it be really a great day. It was a huge relief. Vic and I were joking that I haven't slept so good in 5 months as I did Thursday night, just knowing we made it through that first day. So kids have been great. I can't say enough about their positive attitudes towards things. Haven't had issues really at all so far. So we're still in the honeymoon there. And the staff, hard to put that in words too, just how hard that they've been working to try to get that face-to-face with the mitigation things that we've thrown in there, and then also try to connect with those remote learners. So I think to Tyler's question just about teacher feedback, I think the start of the year there was a sense of a little apprehension, as Vic said, and maybe feeling some stress and anxiety, and now I think they're starting to get a sense of the scope of the work, and starting to kind of figure out, now that we got through our first Wednesday and they connected with remote learners, just getting a sense of how this can work. So I anticipate, we'll continue to improve in those things. I don't know how we would do remote without Wednesdays. I think that, again, I would echo what Vic said is, I appreciate the board, supporting that and standing behind that. Given the amount of time and thought and effort that it's taken our teachers, Without that Wednesday, I don't know how that happens. And so I really appreciate you guys standing behind that. It has made a difference. Like I said, I just don't know how remote would happen without it. So I really appreciate that. Looking ahead, I am planning, so I did not start with lockers this year. Kids are carrying a backpack. And you've been in my building, you kind of know the locker areas it's pretty crowded and congested. And so I wanted to give kids a chance to get those mitigation factors, get used to the mask, get used to keeping some distance. And so here probably, mid to late September, I'll probably add lockers back in at least for the beginning of the day and the end of the day. So kids could drop their, athletic bags or coats, those kinds of things, and may still not use it for class-to-class switches. I'll talk with the staff about that, and we'll see how what their thoughts are. So I anticipate lockers will come back in some fashion, as we get into September and kids are a little bit more accustomed to the mitigation and keeping some distance and those kinds of things. So overall, it's been a great start. Had our first Wednesday today, and that went really well, and looking forward to keeping it rolling. So.
Have you heard anything from your remote parents at all, or any feedback from them?
Yes, I guess feedback I've gotten has kind of been, there's really kind of two camps. There's one that says that they really want kids to basically sit in front of their computers all day and just join virtual classes. And there's some that are saying, we can't do that. We can't join and do that. And we've tried to offer, we've tried to mirror the remote learning as closely to the classroom as we can. So if there's something that remote learners can do that the kids on site are doing, then we've invited kids to come in, or we've been recording it. But not everything can be translated to the home environment. So we've kind of gotten both sets of feedback. So we're caught in the middle there a little bit with that. But I think overall, we got the attendance rolling now and got that figured out. I think the first live check-ins were today, and so I think overall the feedback I've gotten has been pretty positive from remote parents thus far.
Cool. Any other questions from board members?
Thanks, Mike. Great job.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Amy, you're next.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
As far as how everything is going, I can't even tell you enough how good it was on all of our hearts on Thursday to have our kids back in the building. It took away some of the fears and anxieties and put us back in the element where we do our thing and where teachers do their best work. And so the kids have been phenomenal. I've said from the beginning, our kids will rise to the expectations that we set, and they've gone above and beyond that. And that has huge kudos to everybody who's been a part of our reopening plan and putting things in place so that we have those expectations and our kids can rise to them. But things at the intermediate have gone so smooth. Again, I can't credit my staff, from teachers to associates to custodians to our food service, and then our office gals have just been tremendous in making this all so successful. A few logistical things that we've worked some kinks out of, and we'll probably continue to work them out as things come up and we need to revisit them. As far as remote learning, very similar to Mike and Vic, we're learning each day some things that we can do better. Our teachers have really taken on a different role, especially those that are teaching on-site kids and remote kids, and that's a lot. And so working together on how we can best support them and in turn then give the best to both our on-site and remote kids. I would also echo the Wednesday. Today really helped us again get on our feet and pull together for both on-site logistics and remote learning, as well as giving our teachers some professional learning that will keep them growing through all of this. So again, thank you for your support, and I think that will be I think that is very, very necessary at this time and moving forward. Again, I know we'll revisit that, but definitely necessary and appreciated.
Amy, so you have teachers that I think are dedicated to remote learning, at least, are there parts of time you don't? So each teacher is doing some remote and some on-site, is that true?
That is correct.
Okay, so the teacher is on-site and the students are remote. We don't have any teachers that are working remotely from home. Okay, got it. Any other board members have any questions? Okay.
Nice job.
Amy, good job.
That was a thumb, not a hand. Gotcha. Stacy, you're next.
Just as everybody else said, I think things really started off well here. We had lots of routines that we had changed and updated for the opening, and the kids did an awesome job of doing those. In fact, some of them are a couple routines that my staff have said, can we keep this after all this goes away? Because that seems to work better than what we've done in the past. You know, kids are really rising to the occasion in terms of following the new expectations, and so that's gone well. Kids are super excited to be here, and it just shows in their faces, and so we've had, you know, really zero issues with that. You know, just on site, some other logistics, you know, we have, we're the mix point for at the end of the day for pickup and drop off. And we were really concerned about how that would go with that many students. And, you know, we have over twice as many kids in parent pickup as we have in the past. But that has really, that's really gone well. I'm sure maybe some parents who weren't used to pickup before don't know that it's gone well, but it really has. And so that's a positive, I believe. And, you know, we really have, in the past, we've tried to assign duties as such so that maybe classroom teachers didn't have to have quite as many, but they're really stepping up and doing a lot of before school duties and after school duties, and just to make sure those things go as seamless as possible. Remote learning has gone well. We have, let's see, and I think you get the counts. Probably my biggest grade is first grade, which has 23 students in it right now remote. And so the parents are getting into Seesaw. We had a little bit of, as everybody said, just some hiccups trying to make sure that the machines were, you know, had all the right firewalls and all of that. And so, or didn't have firewalls that were blocking what we needed to students to be able to use. But parents have been super supportive and very understanding as we're working through these things. The 3 dedicated remote teachers are just, you know, working their tails off, as well as all the on-site, and my K-prep and preschool teachers who will be doing both roles. So that's gone really well. We're really excited to get our new machines and get those in the kiddos' hands for not just the dedicated remote kiddos, but also our on-site kiddos. We have an update on that. Jason gave us an update today, so hopefully within a couple weeks we can get those, get the ball rolling on those. And you know, the feedback I've gotten from parents has been overall very positive with our remote learning. You know, there's, as kind of Mike said, sometimes people have different expectations when they go into it, and but they've always been very understanding and kind with their feedback that they've given us in terms of changes that we could make that might be helpful. And yeah, that's kind of, I'd say I would echo again the Wednesdays for a slight, you know, I am fortunate to have dedicated remote teaching in kindergarten, first and second grade, but because of some of the logistics of our schedule and some of the changes, most of my teachers only have about 30 minutes of prep time a day, and a large amount of that is spent sanitizing toys. So they are just sucking up the time that they have on this Wednesday to get all of that planning and all of those things ready that they don't have the time to do on the other 4 days of the week. So a slightly different need for the Wednesday than everybody else has, but still all the more important for us. And I think right now they spent quite a bit of time thinking through the what ifs. So, you know, having, I guess what they're starting to develop is what I would call, for lack of, like a go box. So when that kiddo who needs to stay home remote for 14 days, so we have that stuff ready to go and we can put that in their hands, you know, within 24 hours if that needs to be, if that's the case for a student or a group of students. So that's kind of what they're planning through right now. But it's going well.
And teachers, Stacy, comfort level feedback?
They are super excited about being back, and I mean, I think having kids in their rooms has been, you know, that's made all of the stress and anxiety worth it for them, and they really were so glad to have kiddos in the building. But definitely, you know, it's a different level of stress than just normal beginning of the year stress. So I know that I had a lot of tired teachers on Friday after school, and but they're doing a great job.
Tell us about lunch. I know that that was a concern that you had initially, you know, about space and stuff. Has that worked out?
So we spread out amongst the gym and the commons, and it actually has got, that's one of the routines that all of my staff who have to do lunch duty want to keep. So instead of having 100 kiddos in the lunchroom, there's only about 50. They think the noise level is awesome. So that's gone really well, and you know, just big kudos to my support staff and custodial staff who have to turn around the gym in about 15 minutes from and getting that cleaned and getting it ready so that we can be in PE by 1 o'clock. But that's gone really well.
Great. Any other? Oh, Tyler.
Face shields. So Stacy, Amy, I know that you're using that, and there was some emails last week. Any feedback there, comments from the health team on just the communication around the face shields?
You know, we had sent, one of the things we did, you know, obviously the return to learn plan in and of itself is a little wordy. So I know Ashley had done a great job of creating, basically I would say a slideshow that kind of showed when kiddos would have masks, when kiddos would have shields, and what that would look like. I would say, you know, if you walk into the classroom at the time that we said face shields would be accepted, kind of once they're in their spot, and then we still have, I would say, at least 50% of our kids who are choosing to wear the mask. Some kids wear the mask and the shield, and then there are some kiddos who just wear the shield as well at that spot. So yeah, you know, I think I stand by the front door at entry. I maybe have talked to 4 kiddos, and when I say talk to, just they had their lanyard with their face mask on, but just remind them to put that on, and the kids do a great job with that.
Yeah, same. I think, you know, clarifying with some families that just maybe weren't sure or hadn't looked at it in detail, and so just reminding them that, you know, again, I know you guys saw, you know, one of the responses that I sent, and our teachers have just done a phenomenal job of making sure our kids feel comfortable, but yet are following the mitigation that we've set forth, and then also understanding the why behind it, because I think that's such a big factor in having our kids buy into it. And so really knowing that it's to keep you safe, to keep others safe, and that together as a school board administrative team, we did agree at K-5 that there were times at their desk that they could have their shield on as their face covering. And so like Stacy said, it is not the case when I walk into classrooms that all 20, 25 kids just have their shield on. It is fewer numbers that just have shield than continue to wear their mask or have their mask and shield. And so I think, you know, that has some parents feeling better, but also reminding our kids that the shield only is the option when they are sitting at their desk only.
Thank you.
Lindsay, how do you want to proceed then? Thank you very much, everybody, for your updates. Do you want to, I think we'd love to hear from Ashley and Laura.
Yeah.
Quick update from Tim, maybe quick too, before we get to Lindsay.
I was just asking Lindsay how he wanted to handle the rest of these, so.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
fine. Ashley, Laura, don't forget Tim, and then I know Carrie and I probably have some things that we would like to share too, so whatever
Okay.
you want to do, Deb.
Okay. We can go ahead with Tim, if you'd like, that's fine.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Okay.
So on our mitigation for games, it's been a little bit fluid. We started out with our first football game last Friday night, and things went really well. We had a limited capacity, right at, well, just under 50%. Kept everybody in the stands, and wanted to make sure we got through that first game before we tried to expand out a little bit, which we will probably do this next home game. In fact, just yesterday I ordered some banners to go along the fence that will allow some people to stand down in the fence area, because there are definitely people who wanted to. We were a little crowded on our side with just one small issue, that I had expanded our bleachers over to include the small section on the visitor side, but none of our fans really wanted to go over there. And so as the game started, their student section, the West Marshall student section, took over that set of bleachers. And so by the time everybody got here, we were a little packed on our side. I mean, there was still good, I feel, good social and physical distancing, but those tickets then were single game tickets. There were 75 of those, and those probably will not be sold for the next game. All our parents have all the tickets that they need. Everything is fine there. Our student section, we've got about 20 more passes that we can sell for that. And I'm calling them season passes. Their activity passes aren't really, we're not using those this year, but students have bought those, all 3 games at once. I will open that up again game week for the Boone game at $10, since we're only have the 2 games left. And then I will open up the small set of bleachers for the visitors. I'll be able to sell a few more tickets that way, so we'll still recoup that money that we would be getting from our home fans. So that's kind of where we're at with that. I think having people stand on the fence after that first Friday night will also expand us out a little bit and give us more of an opportunity to physically distance on our side. And then, like I said, the visitor having both those bleachers over there should give them more space as well. So as the positivity rate jumped up this week, we had 9th in JV volleyball on Monday night. And in talking to Story County, we went ahead and whittled that back down to 2 tickets per player for all 3 teams that were there at our triangular. And we just used a Google sheet to send out. We put our names on there, and then a check for 2 different guests when they came in. They still had to buy the tickets, of course. And same thing then for the visiting teams, which was Kemper Catholic and, gosh, who did we have? Oh, Mondrian Farrar, yeah. And so they both filled those out, and we had those people come in as well. So I think things went very well both nights. We are looking at 2 middle school home games next week, which will also be just 2 tickets per player for right now. And then we're kind of going to evaluate from week to week on those indoor sports. We have JV football coming up on Monday as well. I do not have a restriction policy as far as number of tickets on that, because we don't normally get anywhere near. We're probably at about 25% capacity on those nights, and so it shouldn't be an issue. And I think it's kind of where we're at right now. We do have our cross-country meet next week. It was originally the first day of school on 27th. We normally have close to 30 teams. We are down to 11 teams. We whittled that down a little bit just to help with the mitigation there. And we're going to run a little bit different schedule we normally do. We're going to have the varsity girls first at 4:30, followed by JV girls. And then there's going to be about a 45-minute break in there, in hoping that teams that do have 2 coaches, so a girls coach and a boys coach, the girls teams can all leave and their fans will leave, and the boys teams at the same time will be coming in. And so hopefully we can physically distance a little bit better with that cross-country meet as well.
So, Tim, I have a couple of questions, and I heard from a couple of parents. Going forward, given the fact that so when we talked about this, this is kind of the standard mitigation, I think, for the conference, right? Pretty close, and makes perfect sense. Now the fact that our county is higher, and I understand we have not experienced the same thing at our school buildings, but in general, our county numbers are higher. Is there talk, I mean, I know the recent development with Iowa State, they went from 25% masks the whole time now to no fans. Are we thinking about, like, as we go, and maybe this is a question for Ashley too, so I don't mean to just throw it your way, Tim, but as we go, are we looking and saying, well, this was our mitigation at this level, are there tweaks or adjustments to make? Specifically, the feedback that I got was, I think some people misunderstood and it maybe weren't as clear. Initially, I thought your message was very clear, so I apologize, but were masks required when people were sitting at all times? I know I was at the game. I don't know how, I saw most everybody when they walked in, they had masks. I would say less than half kept them on during the game. So maybe can you help clarify and let me know how is that designed to be?
Okay, and are you talking
The
football,
football,
volleyball?
yeah. I'm only talking, the only feedback I've had was the varsity football game.
Okay, so we, because it was outdoors and it was prior to the positivity rate going up as much as it has, we did not have a mask requirement. It was a recommendation. And we did have a requirement to get in the building originally for volleyball. But on Monday, after talking to Story County Health, we went with a requirement. And so that was sent out to all parents on all 3 teams that were going to be here. And so, and we had everybody in the gym on Monday night had a mask on.
Okay.
So as we move forward, if we, there's a couple things that have come up. Obviously, Iowa State just came out today with no fans, as did Ames for their football game on Friday night against Urbandale. They're not going to have any fans at all. So if we need to look that direction, we certainly can. And it would be a better choice for us to go with required masks at all times for football. It's not a problem on my end. We can definitely do that.
But thank you. I think my question too was just as our environment changes, we're looking and working with Story County probably on a daily basis, I guess in some cases, to make sure that what we have currently for mitigation still works. It's still enough.
Right.
And I think that was as much as anything. People wanting to first, maybe they hadn't read the message as clearly as they should have, or maybe thought they understood it, but then also just letting them know, hey, what we did for the first game, we might have to change for the second game.
Right, right, and that's definitely the case. One of the things that I set up this week, and we have a lot of stuff on the road, so it's not going to be as big of a deal for this particular week, but on the athletic webpage, you can find now seating restrictions and what we are doing for mitigation for each game, whether it's at home or on the road. So what the other schools have sent me as far as their policies are on there with links to it, and we will have that same thing for the following weeks. Each week as we go, I will update that as to what the requirements will be for each game.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Any other questions? I can't see Jeff or John, so I'm hoping you're going to use the raise hand option if you have one. Sorry, I don't want to miss anybody who has a question or comment.
Now, the only thing I would say, Debbie, this is Jeff, is I'd ask Tim is what is he hearing from other athletic directors that has worked for him? I mean, you guys sharing best practices, so you can share between the schools, or what we doing is what we have to do. I mean, we got to wear the masks. I mean, that's just about it.
Right, and you know, obviously, Ames put the mask mandate into place, and it sounds like Story County will probably do the same thing, and we obviously will fall in line with that. As far as the other athletic directors, we're pretty much all along the same page. We do have guidelines that we're following as a conference. I think we've gone a little bit further in some of the things that we have done, and there's other schools outside of our conference that I don't think are doing a whole lot, unfortunately. So yeah, we are in constant contact with each other, especially if we're playing somebody, so that we know exactly if they have additional mitigation beyond what the conference is calling for.
But Tim, we're not turning anybody down as far as tickets go if they have an athlete playing, are we?
No, we are not. Now, I think there was a little bit of confusion on that with first round, just because we didn't know how many people we're going to have. We have 60 football players, 145 band members, we have 16 cheerleaders. So we started with everybody having 2 tickets, and again, they were season passes. They could buy all 3 games at once. And then when that was done, I opened it back up and said, okay, now if you need to get siblings in, grandparents, whoever you need to buy for, until we reach the maximum that we could do. And so then I think that calmed a few people's fears that they weren't going to get everybody in that they wanted in.
What is our maximum number we're letting in, Tim?
Right now, the other night we had 708, and I could handle about 20 more. That was all the student section. The visitor section was sold out, and our adult section was sold out.
What did we let in for visitor numbers?
200.
Okay, 'cause I had heard that we were a lot less than that, so I'm happy about that. That's very nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the kind of the cool thing, and I think the other administrators, I actually had them work the gate validating tickets, just because I thought there might be some issues, because we were not selling any tickets that night at the gate. And so I thought there might be some people who were upset, and I thought, well, having administrators there might be an easier way to handle that to parent volunteers. But it was slick. I mean, people really enjoyed just walking up and they show their phone, validate the ticket themselves. We don't touch it, and they just go on in. And we only had a couple of issues where people didn't have their tickets up and ready and maybe couldn't get to their account, but we had a list of who had them as well. So I think it was slick, and honestly, the cashless idea, I will probably keep that moving forward.
Nice work.
It was very convenient. It was very nice. We also have options that you could just scan and get a program. Another cool one.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Tim?
Good job, Tim, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
How about Ashley, Laura? Would you like to take a pick? I don't know who would like to go first. Should we? Laura. Laura's gonna go first because she's on top here for me. So, any updates?
Okay, had to unmute and get used to unmuting. My first days went well as far as like students coming in to see me and kind of figuring out our rooms and how to do our taking care of the kids. So constantly working on forms and what we're going to send home with sick kids so they have instructions on what to do if they're sent home and to return and the requirements there that are kind of mandated. So, and how to do the symptoms. So we're kind of working with that. I've had some meetings with the other school nurses and kind of hashing things out because we're learning Infinite Campus and trying to get everybody in the system is going to take a while for us to get through. So I'm glad I have all of them to help doing that. Not very many going home sick. I've been keeping track of making sure everybody kind of knows how to do the attendance. And so, and watching those numbers and then working with the spreadsheet so everybody can kind of see as those numbers rise. So kind of hashing out, forming those, and Ashley's been a big help with that. And then also the duty of, as I get in people that are saying I'm going to quarantine until we get a test back. So they're not like an official quarantine, but then I'm tracking those names and making those phone calls and then trying to get a system where each building and the principal and the nurse in that building can see everything that would be pertaining so they can kind of see date that they quarantine to date when they can return as we get those dates to plug in. So they have a place to go and they can also add in a name and then I'll look at that and can see it. So just like logistics things. So it's coming along and everybody's been very helpful. Ashley's been helping me kind of form that and so.
So I have just one quick question. So I think I heard on the news in other districts there were some parents that were confused because they're not quite understanding the communication that would come from the school versus public health. And hopefully we haven't really run into this issue yet, but do you guys feel like you were able to get your that information out to parents? Have they had any questions about who did they contact, us or public health, or is that communication intact, do you think? The communication plan, sorry.
I get a few emails, people interested in what's all involved in contact tracing and how that goes. And so a lot of it and us getting ours, because we might get information that are told to the secretaries and then that flow is going to the right people. So me, Mr. Beecher, and people know. And then we'll have the flow that would come down from our Department of Public Health to go to Mr. Beecher and me and then go. But we haven't had to kind of run that route because we haven't had, the cases to do that, so.
Good. Any questions from other board members or? No? Okay. Ashley,
Thanks, Laura.
your turn. Yeah, thank you, Laura. Your turn, Ashley.
Right, so as all the building principals said and Tim said, we've been planning all these things and then getting them in action and seeing how does it work. And we've had a few things come up with our cleaning supplies and things that we have that way that, we knew what the kill time was for the virus, but then that and the dry time and getting that done. So we're exploring some alternate ways that we can address the cleaning that needs to happen in between. We've been communicating that, trying to brainstorm other ideas and trying to leverage the products that we can get our hands on and get that out to the community too. When there was Clorox wipes, a mom walked in yesterday for preschool glimpses and had Clorox wipes in her hands, and I said, oh my goodness, where did you get that? And she said Sam's Club. So then I put it on Gilbert Moms and Dads, like, hey, if you'd like to get some Clorox wipes for school, there's some at Sam's Club. And then we all then went multiple times in the last couple days and tried to buy as many Lysol sprays and Clorox wipes as we can. So trying to address those things. We have multiple cleaning avenues, and yes, we have the BioEsk spray, but does that always work in the time frame that we have, and is that the best? So trying to fit that for everybody and sharing that out. We have a lot of things, especially at our building level, we wanted those visual cues. So we have the hallways, Stacey and I taped the hallways with direction arrows down each way and where kiddos need to wait to use the restroom, that we're physically distanced. And Stacey mentioned parent pickup and having double the amount of kids and then spacing them. We don't want our mitigation efforts that we do all day to then do something that reverses everything that we spent all day trying not to do. So trying to keep kids spaced out there as well. So we've got dots painted out there and things like that for our kiddos. I've had lots of conversations with teachers about, in various buildings, about all the procedures that we've pushed out. What do we do with paper? What's your ideas on book quarantine? What does this mean in this specific situation? I read the guidance, I know this, but now what? Kind of things. So overall, I think it's going really great, and yeah, we've just got those minor tweaks.
Remind me, was this in addition to your other job as a coach, or is this pretty much your job? You know what I mean? Like, is this, I imagine it's the first week, so likely it will be full-time, but is the balance there?
Yeah, kind of like you said, like there's
balance, yeah.
Not, like, some teachers are doing the remote and the on-site and mitigation and the coaching and and having all those conversations. So yes, it is a lot in addition to
Awesome. Any other board members have questions for Ashley? Thank you very much for that update. Lindsay, Carrie, do you want to wrap up with a district update before we move on to metrics?
Carrie?
I think you're on mute. Nope, you're not on mute, but you are not coming through.
Okay. You want me to go ahead? Okay, yeah, thumbs up there, right. You heard a lot of things from the principals, from Laura being the nurse and Ashley with mitigation point person. It really has taken a team effort to bring us to where we're at today and where we're moving forward to. A lot of things have happened, a lot of positive things. I tried to talk to different people, whether it be when I was in the buildings or teachers or what have you, and I think that it's been very, very positive. I tip my hat to all the people here, but also to Ashley and Laura. I know that I probably have them both on speed dial, and I'm calling them sometimes multiple times a day. The other day we were trying to figure out what to do with our cleaning. We're trying to do some different things, and Ashley had a slideshow presentation of here's some of the different things, and we looked at it and we worked with Lynn Reed, and I think that we have some things that we're going to maybe adjust so that it's going to be even a better situation for cleaning in the classrooms, the teachers, and maybe the students helping. I worked with Laura from the standpoint of we worked with Story County Public Health a lot, and that's been they've been very, very good, whether that be Les or Sherry or Teresa. They've all been very, very helpful. But we had some things that we had to look at just overall district-wise to see what would happen and how we could get these kids in here, how we could get the mitigation. We've had some different people that have come through our buildings that have talked about this is some of the most mitigation and the best mitigation that they'd seen in some of the different schools that they had been at. The plexiglass, you know, we had our custodians step up and be able to do that. The rooms are set up. I know that the teachers and the administrators worked hard to do that. We had the masks and the shields that were ordered. If you haven't had a chance to go down to the elementary, I know that they have the shields also at the intermediate, but those little ones at the elementary that Stacy has, they have a little mask and it has, what is it, a monkey or something like that? It's really pretty cool. The other things that we've talked about, besides the cleaning, besides the mitigation, we're trying to just work through if there's any hiccups that we've had. We're trying to make sure that the bus routes, that was the thing that I had a fear that we were going to have too many kids and not enough bus seats or whatever. Actually, the parents have really stepped up, and we're very, very fortunate in our district because they have stepped up and helped us with that transportation. And I know that Bruce and Jen have worked hard on that. We have been adjusting things. I know that I've talked to a couple of the building principals to try to get it so that we're not so congested out at the roundabout. We tried some things, some adjustments there, and I think we're just about there. I know I got some information that they were concerned that we would be blocking that. We don't want to do that. We don't want to make it so that it's not a safe situation. So I think that we're getting there, getting close to that. Amy can tell you if we get it, or if you want to know more about that as far as what we're trying to look at. It seems to be that the intermediate middle school is where we bottleneck. Again, you know, I think that I tried to get around to see how the fully remote day would work, and I would agree with what the principals say. I think that this is something that is needed. We're asking our teachers to do a lot, and they are answering the call in the best way that we could ever, you know, possibly imagine. But if I can't imagine not having this time frame for them, and I know that when you're dealing with a remote, when you're dealing with on-site, and maybe some of the PD that might be sprinkled in there, there's a lot of things that are happening. So, you know, from the standpoint of the district end, I think that things have gone well. We tried to answer any questions that people have had questions or concerns. There's still some movement. It's still a fluid thing as far as maybe some new kids coming in and things like that. But you know, the people that are on this screen, the hats off, and that's to all of you. It's been a challenge to get to where we're at, and the hard work I think has paid off, and it felt good. Like someone said, you know, on Thursday and Friday, boy, it felt good to go home and put your feet up and just take a little bit of a rest there. So from the district office standpoint, and I'll let Carrie, if she's got hers set up, I would say that we have been very, very fortunate. And, you know, I don't know if you want to get into this specific yet, but we've been trying to share with you some of the information with our absenteeism. Our absenteeism has been very, very low. We shoot you out that every day. Also the positivity rate, I think, you know, I'm going to try to have a race between Laura and Ashley and myself to see who's going to get to that first and who's going to know about it. But we compare that. Again, it's a team effort, and everyone in the team has put the best effort that they can, and we're trying to make this as safe as possible for all of our students, parents, and everyone involved.
Okay. Can you hear me now, Deb? Oh, good. I just restarted. A couple things. We have added 13 new remote learners since school started. So we are at, I think my number's right at 253 remote learners. I also feel that we've got the attendance ironed out for our remote learners. Our remote learners do a check-in through Infinite Campus. So they do one check-in a day, and this is just for that participation and for our reporting purposes for the state. So they can do that through Infinite Campus. The parent can do it, or the student can do it. They just go right into that first page. They log into Infinite Campus, and there's their today page, and you just check in right there. Because we have flagged, all of our remote learners in the system are flagged remote learners. So that allows them to do it. It doesn't, your on-site kids can't do that. If we have somebody that doesn't check themselves in, or their parent doesn't check them in, we have another layer to support them, that if they participate with the teacher, if the teacher sees them on a Zoom or Google Classroom or Seesaw, whatever, the teacher can then go in and check them in as well. So I think we've got that ironed out, and the families seem to know the system. Today was the first attendance day for remote learning for the whole district, and surprisingly, we were a little worried of how that would go. All in all, it went really well. The other thing, somebody touched on PD. We talked about this at the last board meeting. We have really, that is scaled back. We had, during pre-service days, 5 pre-service days, we had a half an hour that was devoted to remote learning PD, and it was just an overview, and we're starting that next week. But it's really going to be tailored to what our teachers need, and we're going to really monitor that, because we are concerned about everything that's on the plates of our teachers. And I just said we've added 13 completely remote learners. That doesn't include, as we get farther down the road with this, as the people that are quarantined and they're going in and out. And then, so that's where it's really important for our teachers. If I'm going to use Mike's building as an example. If I'm a middle school teacher, if I'm middle school 7th grade science, if I'm Hannah Schmidt, I am still teaching all the 7th grade science. I have my remote learners and I have my on-site learners. I want to keep them very close together, because they're going to, we have the potential of people going in and out, and we can't have a wide disparity, I'm a week or 2 behind or ahead, because we want that learning to stay as close as it possibly can. So that collaboration in other buildings where you might have 2 people teaching that class, or in Amy and Stacy's building, Stacy has 1 remote learning teacher specified for a grade level. That teacher still wants to stay in the vicinity of what those on-site teachers are doing, because we don't know when those kids will be coming back. So that's one thing that we're working on. The last thing I wanted to say was, Jeff brought up about the lunch program. I don't know if any of you have seen that the USDA has come out with some new guidelines. This is federal, that on continuing the lunch program that we had during the closure from March to May, and when we did the grab and goes, and we did not charge people for that. Now, that's coming from the federal government. The state of Iowa has not passed that yet. If they do, then that means that we would not be charging for any meals till the end of December. Just an FYI. But we haven't got the go-ahead on that. Right now, the state of Iowa is saying, continue as usual. You will have more guidelines coming in a few days. So just so you keep abreast of that as well. We can't hear you.
Sorry. That is whether we are on site or not.
It doesn't matter. It'd be for all learners, whether you're remote or on site.
Okay, thank you.
But right now, we're in a holding pattern.
Yes, got it. Got it.
And quick question. You said 13 new remote learners. Can you just you or someone else just clarify what our policy is. So if they choose, if they've been in person, now they choose to go virtual, are we saying that's through the early October, or what's our time frame on that?
On the form that they fill out now that school has started, they're saying that they understand that their child can return either October 5th or January 18th, because those are the dates that we've given. And some of them have said October, some of them have said January, and some of them have said we're unsure which date we want to choose at this point. So after the September board meeting, depending on if anything changes at that point, we will then send something out to all of our remote learning families saying, are you planning on coming back the 5th, or are you waiting? And they're going to have that definitive answer.
But Carrie, for those that are on site and choose to go remote, that's open.
Right now it's open. That has not changed. Yes, right now, unless we get unless we have guidelines from you or from all of you, right now that's staying open. And I think it's important to know if a student quarantines, they don't fall within that realm.
Got it.
But I just wanted to be clear that that is an option. So Deb, thanks for clarifying, but that is an option if there are parents that are getting anxious and say, well, I want to go virtual. They can do it without us having to say, oh, we're going to shut the whole school down. So I think that you just making that really clear. So thank you.
Well, and I think that's why I think that it's important for us to share with you, where are our numbers now? We've gone 13 more families since the start of school have asked to go remote, and we are accommodating them.
Great.
Thank you. Any other board members have questions? Vic.
I think it'd be good to point out, though, we've also had a handful of families, I don't know the exact number right off the top of my head, that have gone, before school started.
Yeah.
Committed to online and changed their mind and have come to on-site. So I don't know exactly what that number is, and maybe.
That might be I think that might have been about 5 that made that choice. But now, and we were very flexible before school started. I mean, we had a couple families the day before that had been remote, that had thought they wanted to go remote, and then before school started, they said, hey, we'd really like to go on site. And because school hadn't started yet, we said, of course.
So, Carrie, Jeff Mosman here. Do we have somebody following up with these parents and seeing why they went remote? To make sure we don't have a common thread where maybe we have something wrong? I'm not sure we do, I'm just asking.
We do have them declare a statement as to why, and everybody most of them are saying, as the 13 that have moved since school started is definitely the county numbers. And some of them, other ones prior to that, or whether it's a family member or, a precondition that someone in their home has, the student has. Some people just say COVID. I mean,
okay.
And we are not distinguishing between that. I mean, we're not saying this allows you or this doesn't, but we do have that statement in there to help with what you just said. Is there a pattern? Is there whatever?
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Tyler. Gosh, we've got a lot here. Sorry.
Yeah, just real quick, Vic or Cindy, I think I read where you gave remote learners an option to come in for one class if they chose. I don't know that, did you get any takers on that, or I'm just curious if that was working?
Yeah, we actually did have quite a few takers, and Cindy's probably got the specific number, but what would you say, Cindy? I'd say around a dozen, maybe a little more than that.
I've got it in front of me, I'll count real quick, yeah.
Now, we're approaching probably right around, someone could check my number that would probably know, around 70-ish remote learners, and Cindy probably has the number specifically, but we did have some have chose choir band, some have decided to, Spanish was their course, or an art class, or a shop class. Some have taken science and some have taken math. It's just kind of been all over the board.
So we have 20, and like Vic said, I'm looking at it right now, anything from advanced welding, where it was their last opportunity to take it, that's a difficult one to take outside of school, to the choir, band, building trades, Spanish, like he said, so all over the board.
Great, thank you. That was a nice idea, so great job implementing that.
I think we had both Laura and Amy. Laura, do you want, I think it was, Laura, how about you go next?
Okay, I just had so I'm tracking like the percent absenteeism, so we can see if we're at the 10%, you know? So to do that is a little tricky. They gave us the guidelines, and they kind of explained that we're gonna be looking at, we're counting those that are on site, that we're expecting face-to-face, and then the number of absent from those to get our percentage. And so it's been really great because Cassie and Carrie have been making sure that that denominator is, or numerator is correct for me in all of my columns, so we can get that thing. So that's going to be fluid to kind of get that percent.
Makes sense. Amy, did you have a comment? Or?
No, not anymore, thanks.
Oh, she was just stretching. Okay, sorry.
Well, I was going to, but it got covered, so we're good.
All right. Anybody else? Tyler or no? Oh, Lindsay? This feels weird that I'm calling on teachers. Okay.
One of the things that Laura has been great in developing is that she has a spreadsheet where I think some of you have seen parts of that, that she'll take a look at that absenteeism, she'll take a look at that positivity rate. Just so that you know, Laura, they did get a copy, I think, in some of the, I don't know, maybe one of the school board updates of that kind of what we have to go through, count and don't count. So there's a challenge there, and like I said, there's been quite a few people that have their eyes on that, and we're watching that very close.
Thank you. So with that said, sorry, Tyler, go ahead.
Oh, you're probably going there, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to say with that said, I think it's a good idea for us to maybe move on to the kind of the metrics side of this. I don't want to just limit it to numbers exactly, but for the most part we do. This is about, obviously the one figure that is out there that we know about the most is the county positivity rate, which is the number of positive tests according to the number of tests taken that day. But there's other factors that go into that as well, and I think maybe we wanted to have just a quick discussion and get some thoughts from board members and maybe also from some of the staff or the administrators about those metrics and maybe what we think will be most helpful in navigating this space. Unfortunately, well, there's going to be some things that are just black and white numbers, but there might be others, other situations that are not quite so clear we'll have to navigate. So maybe we'd like to open the discussion up to others that might have some comments. Tyler, I know, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know that you had some thoughts, perhaps, or questions. Maybe anybody who just has questions about the numbers we're receiving, what you wish you did have, that kind of thing. Just open it up.
I appreciate the daily updates, Lindsay, and the absenteeism, that's good. Positivity rate, again, I think everybody knows, but that's such an easily manipulated number, and I know that that's a governor's number, so I know we need to watch it. It's interesting, I'm up in Minnesota right now and visiting with a friend I was staying with last night, and they're using case count per 10,000 in the county, so there's different numbers that way. So I know it's real. I'm more concerned, I'm more focused on our absenteeism, so I appreciate those daily counts. I would ask if we could please get some historical, because just sitting here, I would anticipate that after the first week or two of school, I would imagine absenteeism traditionally, historically goes up just because of the mixing and matching of kids, and the newness of school is over. So I think it'd be really good for the board to get some historical absenteeism. And again, I'm looking at that from the standpoint of what's the benchmark, what's the foundation? Because I don't want us to overreact. Everything we just heard, I think, is so great. And if there are parents that are concerned because of positivity, let's communicate that there is an option for them to go virtual, but let's make sure we're looking at numbers that are real for Gilbert would be my my opinion.
And I think, hey, Tyler, Jeff here, you're exactly right. We need something to measure against, but I guess our dilemma on this whole thing, if I'm not misunderstanding, is the fact that we changed systems within which we track that, right?
You're right.
So we have the old system, and now we have the new system. Just tell us if there's any way you can get that information. If there is, great. If there isn't, then we can all put our heads together and figure out what we're going to do.
You're exactly right, Jeff. We changed from a power school to an infinite campus setting for student management. I think that I know Cassie has worked hard to get some of that some of that power school information back, even though that we're not using it. And we will try to go ahead and do our very, very best to make sure that you have something to compare. And I think Tyler's right. You need to look at, what's a comparison? We're going through the first full week, if you want to say, for our school. What does that look like maybe a year ago and how that would be? So we will try to get that to you and add that to the information that we're sharing.
Lindsay, what do you think the chances are you're going to be able to do that? I'm not trying to put you on the hook, but he's right from the standpoint we need to measure. We need something to drive our numbers off of. And
I'm not trying to take over Deb's spot, but I know Carrie and I have had discussions with Cassie. Did you want to add something there, Carrie?
No, Cassie was able to pull information from Power School. We just haven't had a chance to compile it and look at it, but we do have, now I haven't looked at it to know exactly how it was put together, but I do know we've got something that we can work from. I saw Stacy had her hand up.
Yeah, she gets a point for actually using the raise hand button too. So.
I don't even know Debbie, I don't know where the raise hand button is.
No problem, sorry.
That's okay, I had to ask too. I think the only thing I will say, I think we will be able to get the general data out of Power School, but as Laura mentioned, the actual attendance rate data that we're going to use for under COVID, we may not have that level of detail that we need in Power School because our secretaries weren't necessarily inputting that level of detail. So I think that would be the only kind of caveat I would mention with the data.
Right, and so like in the past where we might just have known that they were absent, but today it's like, are they absent because of a doctor's appointment? Are they absent because they're sick? Is it planned? Something like that. That's a very good point. Thanks for bringing that up.
Well, at least if we know that, then we can go back and say, what do we do with the matrix if that's not really that important? Because obviously we've got a huge jump in Story County, and we all knew that was going to happen. And I think Tyler's dead right. I think that we need to make a decision on what's going on around our place, and we need to run our school and not worry about some other things. But we've got to have some measurement tools in place to do that.
And maybe just a quick comment from me on that. I totally agree that, the numbers that are shared broadly are, there's numbers behind the numbers that we have to get used to reading and understanding. First, I know that it wasn't meant this way, but, it's not just about what's happening in Gilbert. 80% of our kids live in Ames. And so we do have a broader boundary than just the town of Gilbert for sure. And we're part of a bigger community. So I'm all about, I am very interested too in tracking absenteeism. To me, that's a little bit after the cow got out of the barn, right? When you're seeing that number at 10, boy, I hope that we're starting to look at that number as it continues to rise, or if it continues to rise. But I'm on the same page as you guys, so we're part of a larger community. We have to understand too the impact of us sometimes being open and what that means on that community. So more to come. Oh gosh, Vic, are there more people? Sorry, Vic.
Well, and I would echo what Deb is saying also, is that, and the impact it has at the high schools a little differently than it might look at the elementaries. Like our high school kids are working in Ames. They're at restaurants with Iowa State kids. They're sharing the same spaces with Iowa State kids. They're going into the same stores. So, we really don't live in a bubble, unfortunately, and the Iowa State impact and the county impact, it does have a direct correlation with things that are happening there or could happen here. And so we just want to make sure that we stay stay on top of that and take those things into consideration. But I feel like our students have done a nice job at doing that, but they do work in those restaurants together, and they work alongside kids that go to Iowa State and work within the community. So I think that needs to be considered.
Yes, thank you. Carrie, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have that raise hand button on mine. I've been looking for it, so kudos to Stacy for finding it. I had two things. First of all, I think that our absentee rate is really important. I think it's important to know that who is not counted in our absentee rate. And Laura, I think Laura might have spoke a little bit to this. None of our remote learners are there. It's only our face-to-face on-site learners. And if a student is quarantined, they are not part of our absentee rate. It's only those people that are sick. The other thing too goes to the greater good of our community as to what's happening with our medical, where are we medically wise? And I know Lindsay and I were on a call with Les White. Was that yesterday, Lindsay? It was either yesterday or Monday. I can't remember which. And she said that they're doing that check now. And that they will be letting us know if there is some compromising happening medically, that would be another factor we would have to take into play.
Yep. The formula just it gets broader and broader. I wish that it wasn't. I think we all realize that it's not just a look at this number and track it to when it hits, but that is a good indicator, and it certainly tells us when our spread is so high and our absenteeism is so low. That's certainly a good sign. But just certainly have a lot to pay attention to. Anybody else have any other concerns? And I too appreciate the absentee numbers and the counts that we're getting. I feel like in a couple weeks, or maybe sooner I'll get this down, but can somebody just quickly remind me, quarantine is when you have not necessarily, the difference between quarantine and isolation. Is there a quick definition for that? Laura, thank you.
Okay, I use mnemonics all the time.
Okay.
Isolation, ick, you're sick. It has an I.
Okay,
and quarantine is you're told to quarantine. You could become ick and switch to isolation. You could get sick while you're being quarantined.
Okay.
So that's like down and dirty.
No, I like that. Thank you. That's a great way to think about it. So based off of what Carrie said, absenteeism then, when we hit that 10% mark, I'm sorry, I say when, if, let's hope we don't. Let's hope we never do, but if you're talking about the number of folks who are intending to be on site, 10% of those would be ick or they would be sick. Not classmate A is sick and now we've sent 20 people home just in case. They are the icks. Oh my gosh, did I say that right? I'm sorry, the sick. The people
what are we getting from reports from Mary Greeley? Are we seeing any students getting sick, or are there any teachers getting sick? What are we hearing there as far as the positivity's up, but how about people actually getting hospitalized?
And I've heard those numbers will lag, John, that they don't go right in line with the increase. There's typically a lag, but Laura or Lindsay, I saw Lindsay raise his hand. Do you know when we would get those? Or you said we're getting them now, right?
I'm going to give you a quick answer, and then I'm going to let Laura, because I know that she has it on her spreadsheet, the number of this quarantine and things like that. What we've done, has been that we have talked to Story County Public Health to see where we're at, and right now, and hopefully it stays that way, we're in pretty good shape as far as ventilators available and capacity for intensive care unit. So that was one of the things that we talked about, that Carrie was mentioning with Les the other day, and we wanted to see where that's at, because that's one of the criteria that they look at as far as the healthcare resources when the capacity gets into a concerning rate. So right now, that we're in pretty good shape, and we're trying to look at a variety of things. I hope that, if people are listening, they realize that it's just not, we're looking at one particular thing. yeah, I know that the positivity rate is at a certain amount, but we're looking at the absenteeism, we're looking at the healthcare, if there's any concerns that are there, and we're trying to do some things with, and that's why I'm going to turn it over to Laura, because keeping track of if there's people that are quarantined and things like that. So Laura, you want to kind of add to that?
Sure. Story County will send me things that I'll pass on, and she'll also say, some of the demographics of all of these we're testing, it's not our school age, it's usually in this college age, 18, 19 to in the 20s. And then she'll say some of the older. So she was kind of keeping this update that they didn't have a lot of our population in those numbers, but that can be changing. And so back to our numbers, we have things coded so we can have people that are quarantining. Some are just waiting for tests because people are unsure, and so those are coded and not in our counts of absentee, because we don't know that they are sick, or they'll say that it's a family member or they've been told to quarantine, and I keep track of those for the buildings. And so we have maybe about 4 in our high school that are kind of doing that, and about 5 in our middle school, and I think 2 in our intermediate, and 1 in our elementary, and then we have an employee and some of our tech interns, I think, there's some of those that are ISU kind of related here, but aren't with students. So just kind of a low numbers on that we haven't had positive, so.
And just so I'm clear, I heard this today too, because I think you mentioned they're waiting test results. So if someone does feel they do get tested, they are not supposed to wait until they get the results to isolate or to quarantine. Am I right? You quarantine as soon as you have the test?
Right, and you're waiting for the test results, so you stay home. Basically, that's the safer way, that you're staying home until you have the test. If it comes back that it's negative on whoever that person was, then they start and re-attend.
Okay, got it.
And so then we make sure the principals kind of know with that coding, they can make sure they're getting their online education at home because they're not really sick, right? They can still participate with that. And just getting that routine so they know that they need to get them education and how to log in and that kind of stuff.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Any other action for them in terms of kinds of metrics we'd like to see or hope to see? Andrew?
No, I like the updates, as Todd noted earlier. I think it's good. There's obviously a lot going on in Story County. We know keeping close eyeing it every day. So we're getting a little bit of action, some nervousness, but again, you guys are doing a great job. Thank you for that. The other action we're probably going to get is when we do get that positive case, which we are going to get a positive case in our schools. So again, just consistent messaging on what our plan is, stick to our plan, understand we have a plan in place, and just go with it. Because again, it is coming. And so Ashley, I know that email, or I think it was Lindsay, sent it out last Friday with the video of kind of what it looks like, what's going to happen. That was awesome. If we can almost keep that going, because the more information we give the parents about what it's going to look like, when it does happen, we won't get the panic. Because again, you kind of see the panic now with positivity rate going up. I think we're starting to get that alleviated, but it's going to come again when we get positive tests. So keep that information going. But overall, guys, it's a great job. You guys have done awesome. I mean, it's so neat to see the kids, the excitement level. That KCCI story 2 nights ago, I thought was unbelievable. Yes. Lindsay, great job. Rainey Sneezik, great job. The students did a great job.
Amy in the background.
I could not be more proud of the district for everything you guys have done. So thank you for everything you're doing and continue to do.
Yeah, echo his thoughts for sure. Any other questions? Just so you're aware, I believe we're tentatively have another one of these scheduled for next Wednesday. Again, just an update, very interested in understanding what we're learning along the way, and thinking that this kind of communication is going to be helpful going forward. So I sure appreciate it. Anybody else has maybe anything else to bring up? I think, like I said, you can't see Jeff or John, but.
No, great. Just stay the course, communicate. That's great.
Thank you, Tyler.
I just want to give a quick story, and it'll be quick. You know, I heard of a positive case down in one of the Des Moines schools, and obviously it was the kid who came to school, found out later he was sick, and they had it posted online. And then really what happened was, once it was posted online, as you guys all know, all of a sudden it becomes a negative, bashing the parents, bashing the kid, bashing the school. And I heard that story, and I kind of read a little bit about it, and it was kind of sad to see. So again, that's back to the communication piece up front. We got to walk through and get people comfortable, because when it comes, people are going to panic. And then they're going to start, pointing fingers and, oh, it's Lindsay's fault, or it's Deb's fault, or it's the kids or the parents' fault. And I know that parent, for about 2 days in a state of depression. She said, I didn't know, the whole community I felt was against me. I thought I was getting everybody sick. And again, it was out of their hands. They didn't do anything wrong. They just had a sick kid, and they sent him to school before they knew he was sick. So again, that's why we got to keep the communication going and keep people feeling comfortable, because again, it is going to come. So
I think I saw a message, maybe it was from Tim Tiger Together. Never thought of anything more true, right? We're in this together. This is a community. It's so important that people understand that we want them to come forward. I think that kind of activity and that kind of behavior just discourages people who might otherwise have come forward from feeling that they can do that safely. And it's just so important that we're still a community. We have to remember what kind of makes us special that way. And thank you for sharing that, Andrew. All right. Anybody else?
If there's nothing more, I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so a motion by Tyler and a second by Jeff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Great job, guys.
Great job.
Good job. Thank you.